I myself live further down this road here. I live well past down there, but what I'm getting to is that Silbury Hill is here and Marlborough College is about there, and that's what we're looking at today, is Merlin's Mound at Marlborough College. But you see how close it is to Silbury Hill, which of course is a pyramid. There it is on that little picture on the right. Anyway, it was great coming to this programme and realising that at long last they're beginning to see that Merlin's Mound is another pyramid. But it's obviously not nationally done, because it's not like the whole world is flocking it. Great, the UK, we found 2 pyramids that are in the open. I mean, Silbury Hill's in the open, and here's this place in this college where thousands of students are seeing it. But it's amazing to think that so much history happened in Marlborough. It's not like Marlborough. Does anybody know about Marlborough? No, it's sort of been kept rather quiet, the history there, and it seems to have masses of history. And I'm going to look shortly at the fact that it has the same church as the one in London, the one is Notre Dame. Yeah, the one I did it a couple of weeks ago. Westminster Abbey, it's got a church like Westminster Abbey. I'll show you. This is the church, which is in Marlborough itself. You have to drive around this church here, so you have to drive. You come around. Marlborough College is over here, and then you come down the road, drive around this bend, and there's this church here. But we're going to be looking at Marlborough Church. This is a very old church, but not the same church. But the other one is the same as Westminster Abbey and Notre Dame Church. I'll show you. There you go, these things, just like Notre Dame and Westminster Abbey. They seem to have covered up the ceiling, because I'll show you an old picture of the ceiling. So this is an old picture of the ceiling with the same ceilings in it, and those ceilings have now been covered up in the more modern version of that church. And here is the outside of the church, looking just like Westminster Abbey and Notre Dame. Here's another one. So quite amazing, hey? I don't think it's quite as big as the one like Westminster Abbey and that. But look at it, another amazing church, all hidden in Marlborough College. And it seems that these colleges, there's Eton and Harrow, you know, the top schools of England, all have these mounds in them. So they're probably all pyramids, but this one is a pyramid. I'm so glad you will hear someone talk about it later on in a little video. But not just does it have this most amazing church, whether by accident or meant to be, there's a shell grotto built into it. You know that in our history there are places made of shell with no date on them. They obviously were built in about the early 18th century, obviously before we were mud flooded again. But this video is going to talk a little bit about that. What I'm relieved about is that this place is given some gesture of something, because it is that important. It is a pyramid. It has an amazing little shell grotto in it. Has an amazing church. There's the history of the school. There's the history of Marlborough. I'm so glad that that this is starting to come out maybe more now, that people are realising how grand and amazing this place is, because just down the road, 10-15 minute drive will be Avebury, Silbury Hill and all that. So it's all part of the same thing.
What this means is now we know the age of the mound, we can relate it to other monuments of the same kind of age, places like Avebury, Marlborough and Stonehenge. and so we can understand that it's not a construction that's designed for a strictly functional purpose, like a castle or an elevated residence or whatever, but it's a monument which had a ceremonial function.
I don't think there's any place in this country that has such an extraordinary history, from massive, mysterious Neolithic building to Norman castle to royal residence to stately home of Seymour family, grand coaching inn with an illustrious history, and then a school which has become one of the most fascinating places in the country in terms of the history of education. It is one of the largest man-made mounds in Europe. It's not too silly to say that it's almost one of England's pyramids. It's something which is of huge historical and archaeological value, and that is something that the young ought to know about.
I myself I'm going to be meeting up with Maria Wheatley. We're going to be naughty. We're going to go and look at some Metholithic stuff in the middle of this stupid planner Lyris thing. We're going to be doing that in the next few weeks as we're all cooped up like chickens. Anyway, what it was is I'm going to ask her about this because I don't see any evidence for this there. And what it is that she was telling me that in places like the castles, these are mounds where they put things on top so they could see around. But this is being classified as a pyramid now, Merlin's Mound. But they're saying that it had a castle like this, but I'm not sure about that myself. Maybe it was turned into this, who knows, but I'm pretty sure that the pyramid was there first. But they will always do the same thing. They will always say it's 4,500 years old. That's prehistoric. So they'll always stick that time date on it. If you ask any archaeologist, it'll always have, when they don't know how old it is, it'll always have 4,500 years on it. But it did have some kind of little tower on the top, and where else has a tower? See, Glastonbury Tor, which I also think is another pyramid. I did a video about this where I think that that is a pyramid. And do you remember when I said that they were sailing to this church on the top of a hill, and I'm going, well, where are they sailing from? Because when the mist comes in, it's so flat down there, where are they coming from? France? Because there's no land there, because that's the tallest thing in that area. But you see, this mound also has a tower on it.
Back to the last period where it was stable, where it was looked after, where it was properly maintained.
An 18th century home for the Marquis of Hertford and the Seymour family, Lady Hertford decided to create a garden that entwined the mound itself.
She was at the forefront of the British landscaping movement and did a lot to the gardens here. She actually built the grotto. She saw Alexander Pope's grotto in Twickenham and was compelled to create her own. At the same time, she loved culture and poetry, so she was the patron of two very well-known poets, James Thomson and Stephen Duck.
The original spiral path wound its way up the mound, taking visitors to a gathering point at the summit.
The mound is part of a 17th century formal garden, and garden mounds were quite important. In England, they started becoming a feature of gardens in the late 16th century. It wasn't so much that the mound would be planted, it would be that you can look from the mound at the plantings below.
This was also a time when English horticulture and gardening skills were becoming greatly valued, possibly inspired by a renewal of interest in the power of nature and the natural world itself.
England had become, well, poised to become the great gardening nation of Europe.
Marlborough's history pupils want to know how the grotto was used.
What is the significance of the grotto?
It's part of the original garden laid out by Lady Hertford in the early 18th century.
How did Lady Hertford affect the identity of the mound?
Well, she has. I mean, nowadays, of course, this mound is very old indeed, and you would not be allowed to build a decorative grotto in the side of it now. But fortunately for us, we've got it.
3 small pools are sunk into the ground near the entrance. When the sun shines, a rippling pattern of light is refracted into the grotto itself. An unexpected revelation for the archaeologists.
It was a great surprise when we got to excavating outside here, because we had designed a big semicircular pool with a grating over it. And in fact, these 3 pools on excavation were found to be there.
Here's a horse's teeth.
Restoration of the mound is a lengthy process. Identifying its original purpose even more challenging. The Mound Trust is determined that renewal is done well and with great care.
These monuments are constantly alive. They're being tweaked and altered, mutating from one generation to the next to become what that generation perceived it to be. And it would have been no different through the prehistoric period. They would have seen it in different ways, and in the medieval period they saw it as Merlin's burial place. Now in the college grounds it becomes in a sense an artefact and what we want to see it as. And it's so wonderful to see the mound spiral being replaced, because again it gives a sense that it's an alive monument, it's a living monument. One of the saddest things about Silbury Hill is seeing it as in a sense it's stagnated, it's being preserved in some sort of idealised Neolithic state, which is complete nonsense. I mean, we're now 4,500 years later, and we have 4,500 years of erosion and addition and tweaking here and there and change. And so these monuments, to be kept alive, they need to be kept alive in that generation's mind. And so it's great to see the Marlborough Mound being kept alive.
Archaeology is very, very fast changing, much more so than history, I think, because the evidence is just pouring out of the ground as we speak, new evidence. It's changing our perceptions, so constantly we're having to revise our ideas. So that's the excitement of archaeology. It's a very fast changing thing, and people can comprehend it as well. People who are not specialists can take part in the excitement of this changing subject.
Even though it was great hearing them talk about the grotto and everything and all the extra history and the fact that there was a castle there that I had no idea about, it's a real shame that they're not talking more about the fact that here is Silbury Hill and then here is Merlin's Mound, and that they're so close to each other. See how far away? They're not very far away from each other. I wish that they talked about the history between these two. This pyramid, this one pyramid with the little grotto, is not as big as Silbury Hill, but it's still important because they're both pyramids and nobody's talking about them, or not enough. You know, why haven't millions of people been flocking to this historic town of Marlborough then, with and then to Silbury Hill with these 2 pyramids? You can't actually go and see Merlin's Mound. You can see it from the road because it's inside the college grounds, and you're not allowed in, which is so annoying because I'd love to go and see Merlin's Mound. I have this thing for pyramids, especially as there's 2 of them. 2 of them! About half an hour, 3/4 of an hour away from me. Most amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. So I just wanted to put in that obviously they're saying that Merlin's Mound is now a pyramid, which is great as far as I'm concerned, because it's obvious it is. Obvious it is to everybody that that is a pyramid. Look, it's a step pyramid and it had a path around it which they put back. But very annoying that they're not talking more about the pyramids themselves. But anyway, thanks for watching. This is some castles in England, obviously moats and baileys and ringwoods, but it's quite a few, isn't there, over where England joins Wales. Obviously wanted to keep Wales out. Heritage sites, which have got castles. And then on to the next bit when it comes, because I've obviously pre-recorded this before. There you go, that is a some kind of fort, but look, is that a star fort? I know it's slightly different shape, but look at all that in the middle of nowhere that was built. These are the stone circles. There's another map of the stone circles. Obviously that's where I pointed first of all is where Avebury is there. Obviously there was a lot more than there is now. There's less now than there was, but that is what I think England really looks like. It's lying on its side more like that, even maybe a bit more. There you go, a couple of pictures of it on there, CGI, but it's lying on its side. And then when you look at the size of England, see, it's as big as France, and they don't really say that, do they? They don't really show us that that is the same. England is the same size. We're just this little blip on the side of France, but when you look at that, we're the size of France. Yeah. Even though I know that that's a CGI thing. Deary me. But anyway, that's what I think. I think they're lying about the size of the UK. I think England is bigger than they say it is, which is just a bit annoying, isn't it? Because we're not just, well, we are still quite small compared to America, but the bigger we are, which is just quite annoying, really. Anyway, we're supposed to be moving on. Come on, move on. Yeah, so I wanted to go look up, I'm just looking up stuff. Not really sure the relevance of that one, but I saw it, so I thought I'd just include it, that someone's put it like that. I'm not quite sure what all that's about. I thought this one was quite interesting. How England is. Why we have to have so many names, goodness only knows, but we do. But anyway, that's just a little more history about where we're living, or UK, United Kingdom, the British Isles, Great Britain. Such an amazing place here. You've got, not only have you got Merlin's Mound and Silbury Hill just up the road, you've got the Shell Grotto there. So there's just so much history in this small area. So, and there's the church. Look at it. It used to have spirals on it. See, it used to look different in the olden days. And look, the top of the pyramid is cut off, which isn't now. Anyway, it used to be a castle, so they say. News to me, but yeah, the castle. There's the church, missing its spirals, Marlborough Church, but it's the same as Westminster Abbey and Notre Dame. And you've got Silbury Hill, and not just that, around Silbury Hill, you've got Avebury, Stone Circle, there's Strawberry Hill, there's Woodhenge, Glastonbury's not that far away. We've got Stonehenge, although Stonehenge hasn't been put back correctly, as we all know. But there's Stonehenge, that's not that far away. Of course, Glastonbury Tor also is not that far away, but it's not in the same place as Stonehenge. But none of these places are that far away from Marlborough. You know, 20 minutes, half an hour. You've also got, that's Kennet and Avon Long Barrow, which is just up the road from, like, it's about that far away from Silbury Hill. That's the distance where the Kennet and Avon Barrow is. And then when you get back to Avebury, you've got the corn circles and stuff like that. There is so much history. There are also these things. I'm going to show you these things as well, which they have. There you go. You have White Horse on the hill. I'm not sure if they're as old as we think they are. Maria Wheatley says that they're not. But we've got white horses. What else have we got? We've got obelisks. There you go. Look, there it is. Is that it there? Let's have a look. I'm going to look it up. Well, there you go. There it is up there. There's a better picture of it. Why would they be building such a big thing on top of the hills there? It's quite big, this obelisk, whatever it's called. Yeah, obelisk, I can't say it, but you know what I mean. Statue, we'll say. There you go, there it is, on top of the hills. So there's just so much history here, but who knows about it? Do any of you know about this? Anyway, thanks for watching my video.